Welcome back to Draftstack. This is the Draftstack's official 2025 NBA Draft Lottery Show. It is the biggest night of the year. I'm really excited. I'm Nick Thomas. I'm joined today by my team from Draftstack, Kyle Scartlett, Jordan Ennis, Zach, and Jacob Larea. How are you all feeling, guys? I'm really excited.
Feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good. I'm excited to see who grabs the flag.
Yeah. I'm really excited for this. Nervous about the Celtics game tonight, but other than that, super hyped for the lottery.
All right, now
Yeah,
Jordan,
I'm really
just off you go, man.
okay. Well, I am excited for the lottery, but I just, regardless of results, fire Nico Harrison. That's all I care about. So, regardless of results, fire Nico Harrison.
Is it almost worth it if they get flagged?
No, but I mean, like, it would help. It would help with the salt in the wound, but it's not worth it.
It would help. Okay, it would help. I think you guys do need some help. I'm not gonna lie, but
there's a lot of roster change. If we got flagged, there's a lot of roster change that would have to happen. So.
Which would be exciting. But man, look, flag is the main prize available here tonight, right? You can make an argument that whoever lands 2, they might not take Dylan Harper. Maybe there's a different fit there. You can make an argument depending on the team, right? If you get number 1, you are taking flag, even if you're Nico Harrison, right? And so let's talk about flag here a little, right? Kyle, why don't you give us a little breakdown on flag?
So for one, he plays with a lot of pace. Seems to know where he's going, gets to his spots pretty well. I think his handle for his size is impressive. Pretty physical at the rim. A lot of athleticism, can explode, can beat his man off the dribble, can make really, really good passes. I think that's one of the underrated things that hasn't been talked about as much. Also, I would say that his jumper is pretty fluid. It's to be seen if it works against NBA caliber defenders. Also, I would say that his defense is one of the things that impresses me the most. Just really can lock up his position, and also he's really good at switching, which is huge as far as a prospect early on in your career, especially with the NBA and how so many guys are versatile. So there's a reason he's a consensus number 1 pick.
Yep. What do you think his ceiling is defensively, right? We hear a lot that Wemby has the next 10 defensive player of the years locked up, right? Can Cooper make a challenge for one of those awards in the future?
That would really depend on a couple of things. One, who's voting on that, to be honest with you. 2, depends on where this pick falls. I think that will really determine how much his defense gets shown. Also, I think it really just depends on whether his lateral quickness can continue to improve at the rate that it has over the course of the season, and obviously when he does workouts, summer league, all those types of things. We'll get to see what that looks like against playing against his peers and then playing against some guys who are tenured in the league. So it's a possibility. I think he has a high ceiling. I'm not sure who I would say is his ceiling per se as far as player wise, but I do think second or first NBA all defense is a possibility for sure. It's a matter to be seen.
I mean, let's talk about some fits here, right? My personal favorite fit for Cooper Flagg is the Washington Wizards. I'm really excited by a potential front court of Alex Sarr and Cooper Flagg. That genuinely really, really excites me defensively. And that's my favorite personal fit. Of course, I'd love to see him with my Hornets, right? And as I'm sure Jordan would love to see him with his Mavericks tonight. But yeah, what are you guys' favorites fits? Why don't you start us off, Jacob, man?
I'm right with you with the Washington Wizards as the best fit for Cooper Flagg. To start off with, I said this earlier in our chat, the Wizards are doing an ethical rebuild right now, full throttle through the draft, maintaining their young players. Of course, they have those large contracts, but they're flipping their other older guys. They're taking on bigger contracts to keep these young players and develop them. I think that he would pair extremely well with Alex Sarr in the front court. I think that would be a very versatile and fluid defensive front court. I also do think he would pair well next to Keyshawn George and Bub Carrington, both guys who I thought were impressive this year. They impressed me way more than I thought this year, especially Keyshawn George, him as an off-the-ball player, him as a defender. Bub Carrington was such a good on-ball rookie in terms of development. He was ahead of his time. I just think Cooper Flagg could come in. He'd be the clear-cut franchise cornerstone. I also do like the Charlotte fit. Nick, I know you would absolutely love that.
Oh man, I'm buzzing. I'm high on it, but I'm excited.
I think that he would bring a much needed defensive prowess, that intensity that Cooper Flagg plays with, that that flair that very few players kind of play with, that attitude. I think that is desperately needed in Charlotte. They need that type of culture, especially with their lollygag, LaMelo Ball type of culture that's associated with them right now. So I do think that he'd be a huge culture changer for either of those teams.
All right, what about you, Zach, man? Zach, who's your favorite fit here, aside from the Hornets and the Wizards?
All right, so, and I do kind of speak as a lifelong Spurs fan, but I think a front court of Sohan, Wemby, and Flagg is the best defensive front court we will probably see, especially in the modern era. So I do like the Spurs fit. If that were to happen, we got 2 chances at it tonight. I just think the defensive gravity of Wemby, you brought up the question, how many defensive player of the years could he possibly win? Flagg. Wemby's gravity is so crazy that I do think it's going to impact his numbers eventually. Like, people just won't try him. And I think if you add a Flagg to that equation, along with a Sohan, whose isolation defensive numbers are disgusting, I think defensively it has so much upside, takes a lot of pressure off Wemby. And honestly, I know a lot of people have questions about the roster, but the Jazz, a lot of people are talking about him going to the Jazz. That's an interesting pickup because they got Kessler, they got Laurie, who's been in limbo for a couple years. They have a lot of size there positionally. A lot of the pieces they do have are very interesting. I love George. I covered him in high school. He was fantastic. And I just think, he brings an interesting dynamic to Utah. And when, small market teams like Utah, they're bigger markets than we expect. And I think it's good for the league when teams like that have something interesting. So I'd say the Jazz and the Spurs are really interesting to see in terms of teams that haven't been named yet.
You guys couldn't see it at home because it was zoomed in on Zach, but as he was speaking of the Spurs, everyone was in unison shaking their heads. That would just be ridiculous.
It's not fair, but I'd love it.
Also, you didn't even mention Castle. And so, in that defensive unit, so it just at a certain point, the other team has to be allowed to score at least once. So,
Yeah, the basketball gods, we'll see how they favor the Spurs tonight. But like he said, Castle, you got Wemby, Sohan, and then him. Devin Vassell can lock up too. It's interesting. Just a piece like Flagg can really change the dynamic for a lot of teams because he's underrated as a two-way player. So
we've got two teams that haven't been mentioned.
Let's talk about one of the more interesting ideas of who could end up at the top of the lottery. The 76ers.
Oh,
how are we liking the fit? Kyle, why don't you take it from here? How do you like the fit?
Not the biggest fan of the 76ers personally. However, seeing as that you've got some question marks with Embiid right now, they could really because they have some athletes there. I do think having Maxey kind of puts you in a good position because I think he was really good this year up until things ran off the rails. So far, it would in one way it would fit, but to me, I think there would be some roster moves that would need to happen in order for it to be a great fit. They've got some money locked up, so they would need to kind of free that up to kind of balance the roster out and have some balance for him to be able to develop. So 76ers would be nice from that perspective. I'm just wondering how it would work. Defensively, I'm not worried about it. Offensively, I'm not worried about it, but I'm just thinking fit-wise, I'm not sure that he fits the 76ers, in my opinion. I think if I had to pick, and this is probably not the most popular one, but I think the Nets actually wouldn't be bad as far as fit is concerned. I'm sure that people are probably not a big fan of that one, but I think to me, with them they have a lot of draft picks over the next few years. They're in a real rebuilding situation. I think he'd get a lot of on-ball reps there. They have a young team. Got a couple of guys who have played in big games and stuff like that. So it's just a matter of fit to me. I think the Nets would be a good fit as well. Aside from Wizards, aside from Charlotte, and I'm not even gonna reference the Spurs here, but I do think the Nets would be a good pick. And then the Bulls. I talked, with Nick.
Bulls.
I was talking about the Bulls.
Are we convinced the Bulls are going to take Cooper?
To me, with the amount of guards they have on their roster, I would be surprised if they didn't take Cooper.
Yeah, seriously.
Like that to me, putting him alongside with Buzelis. Oh my goodness, the athleticism, just that right there, that tandem could be really, really
and
good.
Giddey throwing him lobs, big guard. Yeah, that'd be tough.
Oh my goodness. So
the Hawks too. I think the Hawks are an interesting one if they were to get him.
Oh, San Antonio has
Rockets.
a pick, right?
Yeah, San Antonio has the Hawks pick. But
all right, well, we have a question from Twitter, and this kind of flows into the Philadelphia discussion we were just having. This is from Jacob Keith. So OKC obviously can end up with that pick if it falls outside of the top 6, and that might be the most impactful thing that happens tonight, even more than Cooper Flagg, is if OKC ends up with this pick. This team is already one of the most dominant teams to ever be formed, right? They are one of the youngest teams in the league. They're getting better. And now you can add a top 6, top 7 pick, top 8 pick into that mix as well in a really, really good draft class. Like that's the dream, right? That's actually quite scary if your team is in the Western Conference. How do you feel about that? Jordan, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, so I think OKC has obviously a need for someone Cooper Flagg's size. Like they can play really big with the two bigs, or they can play really small with J-Dub playing the power forward. But they really have a hole of an actual power forward sized guy. I also think another team that we're not mentioning, it falls in the same era. Like they have more power forwards on their team, but like where just adding him to a dominant team, the Rockets. If the Rockets get Cooper Flagg, like we're looking at, this is another young team. So I think either of those two teams, that was my kind of thing. I think those are the two teams that we haven't mentioned yet that could radically change the way that the league looks at those teams, because they're already good teams, and then you're adding in a defender of Cooper's caliber. Honestly, I think a Şengün Cooper front line is really good. They fit together really well. So that would be kind of dangerous. It would kind of be, a little bit like Denver with Jokic and Gordon together. So that would be pretty dangerous. But yeah, OKC, to me, that's the biggest need on their roster, is an actual power forward sized guy. And he's that guy. Probably the best power forward prospect we've seen in a long time.
All right, well, this draft isn't just one or bust. It's actually very, very talented at the top. Let's talk about the projected second overall pick, Dylan Harper. Zach, do you want to break him down for us?
Oh, I have a crazy Dylan Harper agenda. Yeah, I love Dylan. I stumbled upon this number, I think a month ago or so, where like by far last 20 years, he's pretty much in terms of rim pressure, efficiency, finishing at the rim as a guard prospect, he's like leagues above most, like even above Wall when he was coming out. Tyreek Evans, I know he didn't pan out because of injuries and stuff, but those big guards, the really dominant finishers, he by far at the same age is above even the SGAs of the world. I think there's some reasonable questions with him. In terms of, the Rutgers fit, how much does he affect winning? Him and Ace are going to have similar questions. I made a joke earlier that if he can even remotely guard any position in the NBA, he's going to be a top 2 value pick. I just think his offensive upside is too much to ignore, especially in the modern era. Especially, we're going one-on-one, a lot of isolation basketball, a lot more one-on-one responsibilities. A guard of his size and skill set is really tough to stop at the next level. And I do, outside of the capture the flag, there are 3 prospects, in my opinion, that are worth talking about for that second spot. But Dylan absolutely has the case, and the red flags are really attached to his surroundings, like the teammates he had, the talent he had, not really
coaching,
actual game. So I'm a big fan. I think he's going to be a game changer for a lot of potential teams that take him.
For sure. All right, well, Jordan, what's your favorite fit for Dylan Harper?
So, man, Dallas. To be completely honest, like we need ball handling. So Dylan Harper fits with the ball handling right there. I did see this is a wild tweet. I don't know that I even want to like call this person out necessarily, but he said Dylan Harper, the next great point guard prospect, or another rim reliant disappointment. I'm not sure what that means. Like being able to get to the rim at his
I don't
rate
know what that means.
is a good thing. Like it's a good thing that is just like, oh, I'm not settling for jumpers because I can take 4 dribbles and I'm at the rim, no matter who's guarding me. Like I'm not sure that's a bad thing. Could his shooting be better? Sure. Could he play off ball more? Probably. In Dallas, like you're not going to have to play off ball. So he's a good fit there. If you look at I think Chicago would be a rough fit, like something like that. If somebody moves up, Charlotte could be a little bit of a rough fit. But to me, if you're looking at New Orleans would be a good fit, I think. Utah, I think, would still be a good fit, even though they've got George there. You take Harper over George and you just trade George and you find something different. Because that's the big thing to me with Utah is Utah needs their star of the future. They need who they're going to build around. And Harper is the kind of person that you can still build around. So, yeah.
I actually quite like the fit for the Hornets and Dylan Harper, personally speaking.
Oh, really?
I haven't all year, but I've just put a little bit more thought into it over the past couple of weeks. And we saw quite a lot of success from LaMelo Ball as, not just this heliocentric guy at all times when he was playing with Gordon Hayward, when he was playing with Terry Rozier. And sure, those guys probably won't be what Dylan Harper's going to be. They're not the same levels of player of what Dylan Harper probably will end up being. But I think there's a lot to gain from that. And I think LaMelo is more than capable of playing off ball. He was actually doing that quite a lot at the start of the year, right? When we were almost fully healthy, LaMelo Ball was playing a pretty big off-ball role and was quite successful in it. He was moving well. He was knocking down shots, right? And he was creating a lot of that, needing the ball in his hands at all times. Obviously, when the roster collapsed through injury, that's when it's like, oh, damn, I'm going to have to start chucking a bunch of 40-foot shots, right? Mm-hmm. And that's when it starts getting really, really ugly. But if you have someone like Dylan Harper to operate as not a secondary ball handler, but another ball handler, right? I don't know if that makes sense, but both of them as kind of primaries. And we have no one that gets to the rim, right? LaMelo Ball doesn't get to the rim enough. Brandon Miller doesn't get to the rim enough. They just shoot a hell of a lot of threes. And I feel like having someone like Dylan Harper who can get to the rim so consistently and can force even to rotate so consistently, I feel like LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller will benefit from that so substantially. There is a lot to gain from having Dylan Harper on that roster. And I think they're probably the most underrated fit. I really do believe that they are a great fit for Dylan Harper, which has kind of been against the consensus all year, including my own opinion all year.
I also think maybe the Raptors, we haven't spoken about them at all, but I do think guard-wise, you have Quickly there, you have RJ. I think he fits there because they're obviously still building. I think he fits kind of the mold of what you want out of your guard. Rim pressure, he can handle the ball really well, he can score really well. And I also think, they're trying to balance out. From what I understand, between Sam Presti and Missouri, they've done a really good job at grabbing guys that fit what they want. So to me, the Raptors would be an underrated fit for Harper. I don't know if they're going to end up number 2, but I do think that they've started to make the team look like what they want, where they have a lot of long wingspan guys who can get to the rim, who can put pressure and draw fouls and things of that nature. So it would be interesting to see if that's where he ends up. That wouldn't be a bad fit for either 1 or 2 picks. The Raptors would be nice for either Cooper or Dylan, in my opinion.
All right, well, Zach, you mentioned you had 3 clear guys at the top, 3 clear prizes that are available tonight. Who is your third guy? We've covered Cooper, we've covered Dylan. Who is third?
So I kind of got 2 people right here that if I personally, well, 3. I guess there's technically 5. I got sold recently by the Draftstack crew on VJ as being in that conversation. I think it's completely understandable. Trey Johnson, I've been big on all year. I love his positional size. I love his shot creation. I joke around calling him like an educated Nick Young, just in terms of more polished at the same level. But, Nick was a talent in terms of scoring the ball. And I just think Trey's like a more polished version of that. So I'd put them up there, and then obviously, someone like Dylan. And then Ace. Ace is someone where we gotta admit we love the potential more than the player, which is perfectly fine. I mean, when you look at what he brings to the table, it's understandable. I think for that third spot, I'm probably rolling Ace. I think he does have enough to love with the potential. But I want to hear what you guys think. His measurements recently came in. A lot of these guys didn't have official measurements, and he's smaller than I thought.
Oh yeah,
I thought he was going to be bigger, measuring about 6'7" without shoes. It's not terrible, but it reminds Imani Bates. We were saying he was 6'10" till he measured in at 6'7" with like a 6'7" wingspan. So I don't know if the measurements did a lot for his case, but he's still very interesting to me.
Yeah, well, we did just have some of the draft combine measurements come out. One of the names that you just mentioned, VJ Edgecombe, did just have his measurements come out. He was a lot bigger than expected. There was a lot of worry there that he could drop to 6'1", 6'2". He's actually 6'4", about 6'5.25" in shoes. That really excites me. That's like best case scenario for VJ. I'm really excited now.
Yeah. But my thing with VJ, what kind of surprised me today was his wingspan was only 6'7". I was honestly anticipating it to be much larger.
It looks longer than that.
It looks way longer, especially on the film. The way he clogs lanes, the way he moves his feet. I think that this is a guy that I personally have as my third best player in this class. I think that he has a rare athletic traits that you really can't find with a lot of NBA players. I think he's a guy that also, as we saw the season progressed, he grew into his own as a shooter. That February stretch, he was shooting like 37% from behind the arc. If that doesn't tell you the potential of him as a long-range shooter, then I don't know what else does. I also think that he did grow as an on-ball presence. So I feel like he has both fluctuated throughout the role as an off-ball player and as a primary ball handler. I think obviously when he does come into the league, there's a few teams where he'd come in right away, like Charlotte, as a secondary guy, a guy that moves off ball, bring a certain gravity to him when he does cut towards the rim. I think that he's also just how athletic he is. It's a trait that it's really rare. We saw with the Thompson twins how valuable it is on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think VJ's skill value is also on the defensive end. Like I said, his length was a little concerning because I thought he'd be a little bit longer, but he still has shown that he has the instincts to obviously switch on to probably guards and wings. He probably won't be guarding bigs. He obviously won't be. But I do think this does somewhat affect his ability to play in gaps.
All right, well, we are 7 minutes away from the reveal of the order. I just want to remind everyone, whatever service you're watching us on, drop any comments, any questions. We will get to answering those at the end, right? And we will pull them up on the screen. But we're 7 minutes away. What are you guys most excited to see? Other than Cooper, right? What is your most exciting storyline?
Well, Dallas has never moved up in a lottery in their entire franchise history.
Which is an insane stat. Oh my God. Wow.
A lot of that is just like Dirk didn't let us get in the lottery very much. So there's that. But it is a little surprising that we've never moved up ever. So I would love for this to be the time we've moved up. We've gotten the number one pick once, but we had the number one odds that year. So it didn't really moving up. So I'm really hoping that we move up. It would be great. But so that's kind of, for me, I think Dallas, if they don't move up, it's really hard to see a path to the playoffs next year without getting some kind of ball handling into the team, some kind of high-level ball handling, which is really sad that we're having to look at rookies for a high-level ball handler. But that's kind of where Dallas is at. So if Dallas can get somebody to hold the fort down till Kyrie gets back, that drastically changes next year's outlook for the team.
I mean, do you need to jump up for that? Someone like Jace Richardson, Jeremiah Fierce could be available at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Fierce will be available at 11 or 12. I
don't think he should be.
No way.
Yeah.
I think
Jace might be still there. We'd be looking at like Jace, Boogie Fland, maybe doing like Igor Dimon, maybe try to do, the giant jumbo creator, but he's European, and I think Nico just hates Europeans, so it's probably not happening. So
just looking at the trends of the last couple of drafts, I think it's inevitable for one of Trey Johnson or Jeremiah Fears to fall in this draft.
Mhm.
I think that teams are a little bit turned off on the okay, this guy can really get to any spot he wants to. He's a fantastic scorer. Maybe he needs a little tweaks in his game. Maybe he definitely needs tweaks as a playmaker and as a shot, like overall just decision maker. I think those guys always fall in the draft. We see it a lot with these wings, but especially as a guard, Jeremiah Fears, who is 6'2", and Trey Johnson, whose measurements, by the way, were pretty good today. 6'4", still kind of concerning for a wing. I still don't see the playmaking upside with him still. I've yet to see been sold on that. I see a little bit more Jeremiah Fears, but it's inevitable that either of them fall. I think Jace Richardson 100% would be there. His measurements were also pretty concerning today. Only 6'8.5". Like, can you name me one playoff contributor right now that's around that height and that weight? Payne Pritchard 6'1", 205. I'm not sure what Nemhard or TJ McConnell's exact heights are, but I don't think they're that short. And but
yeah,
I do
TJ's
think
6'1".
Maybe-
Nemhard's like 6'4". He's big body too.
Maybe Van Vliet. Maybe.
I mean, Brunson's what, 6'1",
yeah, but
6'.
we're talking about
6'2".
Brunson, who's a guy who's very different than Jace Richardson, a guy that's more on ball. Jace Richardson thrives off ball. He's a fantastic.
Well, yeah, and like Brunson's like a 1% outcome for that body type.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's just like you're not drafting
Yeah,
somebody
no,
and
okay.
expecting them to be Brunson.
Yeah, you're not.
100%.
So,
Yeah.
and if you're saying that Dallas wants to draft a guy that would carry the load, I do think that Fears or Trey Johnson would be there. I don't think that Jace Richardson.
See, Trey Johnson to me is not a point. He's not really a guard at all. Like he's definitely an off-ball guy.
Really?
In my opinion, he does not create for others, which is fine because that's not his role. He was played at point guard at Texas, but I just don't see him as that being his role in the league, which is fine. Like I think he's going to be a very good wing. I think he's a great scorer. I think his defense is actually underrated for what he's done. So I don't think he has like these major weaknesses like some people think he does, but he's definitely not a guard. He's not a ball handler.
I guess it depends also on where, right? Like that again goes back to what I was talking about earlier as far as fit. Trey's going to need to go somewhere where his primary job is to score. Like that has to be it. It can't be somewhere where you're asking him for 12 assists. Like that just is not the way his game works. I don't think now, granted, I don't want to limit his ceiling here and say that it's not possible for him to kind of come into his own playmaking wise. I just don't think that's the thing that's going to pop off the page, at least in his first season. So to me, I think wherever he ends up has to have a scoring need. Him going back to Texas and staying in Texas, not a bad idea at all. Putting him on the floor with Christie, I think would be interesting. So you've got some options there. And then Fears is, to me, the better defender, personally. I think he plays the passing lanes. He gets out on the break really, really quickly. That's one of the things I'm interested to see on how much of that translates. His ability to get out on the open floor and make, create and get to the basket. So
I don't think we can judge Fears on his rookie year either because he's so young.
Yeah. There's so much upside in my opinion.
Yeah.
So Fears could work with any of the guys, any of the teams that are in the lottery here.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I think as Atlanta's pick, I think belongs to the Spurs. It would be interesting if he's available at whatever spot the Spurs is picking at, and if they decide to pass because they do have guards already. I think Washington wouldn't hurt having. Now, granted, they have guards already, so again, it's just depending on fit. To Jacob's point, a lot of these guys could probably fall because it doesn't fit what the team needs.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, the official lottery has been completed. They have handed the results to the commissioner. We are moments away from learning. Here we go. The 14th pick in the 2025 NBA draft will be made by the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh, of course, dude. There goes 1 and 2. There goes 1 and 2.
With the 13th pick in the 2025 NBA draft will be used by the Atlanta Hawks. No surprises yet.
That's from Sacramento, right?
Yeah. Yes.
The 12th selection will be made by the Chicago Bulls.
Okay, so the Mavs did not fall. They didn't fall.
The 11th overall selection will be made by the Portland Trailblazers.
Whoa.
The Mavs moved up?
Dallas moved up.
Dallas moved up. We spoke it into existence.
This is some
The
type
10th
of...
overall pick will be made by the Houston Rockets.
Wow.
Oh, my.
I'm intrigued now.
The 9th overall selection will be made by the Toronto Raptors.
Okay, so wait. No, that means the Spurs
That
jump.
means the Spurs are in the top 4. The Spurs are in the top 4 and the Mavericks are
We
in the
need
top
that,
4.
baby. We
So
need
that,
that.
so that means you have Philly's going to fall, and New Orleans is probably going to
With
fall.
the 8th pick. The Brooklyn Nets will select 8th in the draft.
Man,
Wow.
that stinks. It would have been good for ball for them to move up.
Wow.
The 7th overall pick goes to the New Orleans Pelicans, who fall all the way down.
Wow. That stinks for them.
Yeah, man, that's
With
tough.
the 6th overall pick.
Oh.
The Washington Wizards fall to 6.
No.
What?
That's 4 as far as they can fall.
Oh my goodness.
The 76ers, Dallas Mavericks, and San Antonio Spurs are all in the top 4.
Oh, man.
So is it Utah is the other one in the top 4, right?
Yeah, right?
Charlotte. It's Charlotte. San
5th
Antonio.
overall pick will go to the Utah Jazz.
So it's
Whoa.
Charlotte.
Our top four are confirmed. It's Dallas, San Antonio, Philadelphia, or Charlotte.
This is huge for the Spurs, man. They're getting one of those top 4. That's
This is
crazy.
huge for Dallas. This is nuts for Dallas. I can't believe that.
Texas Unite.
Yeah, there you go.
This is some sort of sick scheme by the Dallas owners to get some gambling into.
Dude, Nico's somewhere crying for forgiveness right now. He's like, dude, wait, look what we're doing.
And if
Jordan, man, how you feeling?
I am a little stressed now, to be honest. Hoping for a good pick. Dallas, the owners did remove their bid for a casino in Irving earlier this month. So don't know what that means for the future in Dallas. A little nervous about that. Like maybe they're trying to move the team. But they did remove their bid for a casino. So yeah. With these gambling odds, though, maybe they should go back into it. Like, I mean, good grief.
Wow. Well, I mean, I'm just in shock, man. Our top 4 is set. 2 of the top of the bottom 3 teams in the league have fallen out of the top 4. It's just Charlotte remaining of those 3.
Utah should be devastated.
Adam Silver.
The 2 Rose teams have fallen as far as they could fall.
This was terrible for the Jazz, man. I'm tracking it right now, man.
And the Pelicans.
Worse. This is a nightmare. Yeah.
Dude,
Wizards, that was tough, too.
If you've seen Jazz fans on Twitter, they have been going crazy for months about Cooper Flagg, and the fact that they just fell is I can't even imagine what the seems to be on Jazz Twitter. Like my thoughts and condolences.
Oh yeah, no, dude. Thoughts and prayers for Jazz Twitter.
Yeah, I'm a little afraid to check.
Is there a Jazz Twitter?
Yes, there is.
Yeah. Small, but
basically
proud.
Vernon Maxwell making fun of them. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, Kyle. If the Heat had missed the playoffs, they would have moved up with the 11th pick. That's unfortunate.
Hey, so what do you have? 25% chance Spurs get number 1. What do you think of Flagg Wemby? A Flagg Wemby era.
I mean, that's such a devastating defense.
We spoke a top 4 pick into existence. Let's not speak number 1 into existence, please.
I need it, dude. I need it. I would say we deserve it, but we really don't. But
To be
I'm
fair-
gonna just say we deserve
To be
it.
fair, it would be a very, very fun basketball team. I'd love to see it. I just don't want to go against it. That's greed. That is just pure greed. Oh man, this is.
What would be
crazy.
the most interesting number 1 to y'all out of the 4 remaining?
I mean, can I say this is probably the most movement we've seen out of the top 4
Yeah, in a long time.
in recent memory.
Yeah.
But the most interesting, it has to be San Antonio. That has to be number 1, right?
Yeah.
Philadelphia, not from a good perspective because I don't like the fit, but I mean it's interesting. Do they if they get number 1, do they trade it? Do they keep it? They get number 2, do they trade it? Do they keep it? What are they doing with the pick? That's really intriguing to me. Charlotte, I'm buzzing right now. I'm very excited.
Oh man, Coop and LaMelo, regardless, you're gonna sell out. You're gonna sell out.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Cooper also staying in Charlotte
I'm trying
after
to remain
being at
calm and
Duke.
like not let my biases show, but it's tough. It's tough.
That was very hard, dude. Lifelong Spurs. I'm dying
not,
already.
not biases. I don't have any bias, but excitement for the team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I think all of these teams should be
it's like-
freaking out right now.
My question is right now, if the Spurs get the second pick and they're like, all right, we have Fox and Castle, we're all set. What if they just traded for Giannis?
That's what I'm
Ooh.
thinking. That pick is very
Ooh.
true. That's what my thought has been like all night. But
You
yeah,
underestimate us drafting someone random from Europe at number 2, dude. That pays off in like 6 years. We
Igor
would
Devin,
definitely.
welcome to San Antonio.
Unfortunately, it could happen to us. But all seriousness, the trade I could see, especially because we have another lottery pick. It'd be interesting because we took that chance with Kawhi years ago when no one
Yeah.
thought we would trade in the lottery. And Pop's president now, man. He might be aggressive. We don't know. We don't know the mentality really going into this for us. But
he
number
was
one, I think
extremely
today-
aggressive in his first year as GM. I will say
Yeah.
that. That's worth noting.
That's
He was
true.
a very, very aggressive general manager. He made a lot of moves really, really quickly.
And RC Buford is also known to be, aggressive too in the offseason. Maybe not during the regular season, but in the offseason, he's known for being aggressive. So I think that I think Giannis would be a very interesting fit. I don't know. I'm not sure how the math would work on that, but I could definitely see them trying for Giannis.
Man, this is crazy. And the Mavericks are in the top 4. I didn't even mention that. That's a really interesting storyline. Nico Harrison redemption. He made a deal with the devil.
Fire Nico.
Fire
I don't
Nico.
trust him to make this pick.
Dude, Nico needs to trade the number 1 pick if he gets it. He needs to go out as the ultimate
Knowing him, he'll
villain.
trade it for like Bradley Beal. Too.
Yeah,
Like
dude.
it wouldn't even be
Go get Beal in a bowl. Go
Jordan
get Beal in
Poole it
bowl
is.
for the number 1 pick.
Yeah. Or,
All right, and we are back with
Chris
the order of
Middleton.
the top 4 picks.
All right.
All right.
The 4th pick in the 2025 NBA draft will be made by the Charlotte Hornets.
Ooh, tough break for Nick.
Hey, top 4 is still good in my opinion.
Philly cannot get one.
Dude,
3rd pick will be made by the 76ers.
oh my God, Spurs got top 2?
It should be the Mavs or the Spurs.
Breathe.
The
2nd
Mavs.
pick will be made by the San Antonio Spurs. The Dallas
Nico Harrison's
Mavericks.
job is safe.
Dallas
I'm
got
not-
number 1.
It's the 1st overall pick.
I can't breathe.
The odds of trading Luka and getting the number 1 pick in the exact same span of time is the most ridiculous storyline you could not write.
Cooper looks
This
pissed.
is absolute nuts.
Cooper looks pissed.
This is because what did the Spurs do at number 2? That exact scenario just came true. Like that. Let's see what the market looks like for number 2 for them. This is crazy.
I mean, the Mavs are going to have to do some major trades now, because
Mavs are.
you.
Do you think
You're not
take
playing
Flagg, or do
PJ
you think-
Washington at. You're not playing PJ Washington at shooting guard. Like,
Yeah.
I
like there's going to
cannot
have to be
believe he's going to the West.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like he's Cooper Flagg. I really thought that Cooper Flagg was going to stay out east. I really like the East odds this year. I just had a gut feeling. Obviously not.
Can we talk about how good Harper is going to be on San Antonio, though?
No,
Like
no.
Fox
Let's
and Harper
we'll,
and
we'll get
Castle?
to that. We'll get to
Like-
that. We haven't discussed at all what Flagg's fit with the Mavericks would be because it didn't seem like a possibility.
Mm-mm.
What does that look like, Jordan? Man, why don't you take it from here?
Okay, so obviously there's going to have to be. So I would assume PJ Washington is not going to be long for Dallas, which stinks because he's from the area. He's been awesome. Unless they do go kind of more full rebuild and just trade AD and try to go all in on a rebuild, I think that PJ Washington has to go because you're not playing him at shooting guard. So you're going to have to do some changes there. Maybe Daniel Gafford is also not going to be long for Dallas just because he wants starting center money, and you've got Derek Lively, who's also going to want starting center money. So you're looking at some major changes. So one of those guys is going to have to be traded for a guard, and that will be probably really interesting to figure out. Cooper is going to have to play that Duke role of a point forward So we'll see how much he does that. One of my comps for Cooper has been Jason Tatum. The way specifically that he's been in Boston, where he has started to use a lot more of his playmaking lately in the past couple of years instead of just the scoring. So I think that they're going to have to probably focus on that. So I would not be shocked if we see Cooper really struggle in a team that is not at all built around giving him spacing. But I am very excited about Cooper throwing lobs to Derek Lively. That is a pretty exciting development that I am already, I'm ready to see that first one happen. And then maybe I can die happy after that. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
I just had the craziest thought because during trade deadline, I think it was mentioned that the Mavericks asked about Giannis themselves.
Please don't.
So just absolutely, it's a reach here, but it was something that was mentioned that they did ask. They called and said, "Hey, what do you want for Giannis?" And they were like, "Yeah, no, absolutely not." But with everything that's developed over the last few months, and then recently, with them having the number 1 pick, they have in hand something they could use if they wanted to go that route. Now, I'm not saying they will. Do not credit me. Do not take my word for it on this one. I'm just saying, based on history here, there's a possibility where they go back and call and say, "Hey, do you want him now?" So it's one of those things where I'm intrigued to see what this offseason looks like. And also I'm intrigued to see if does Harper go number 2 is the question. And the reason I ask that is because the Spurs have guards. They have guys who do what Dylan does to some degree. So is he going to still go number 2? Is there another, or are they going to go a different route? I'm intrigued to see what this looks like as far as transactions. I think that draft night, you could see a lot of guys move around as far as trades, possibly.
This is the most likely number 1 pick to be traded probably since Andrew Wiggins, in my opinion.
I agree. Mainly because I think Cooper, again, he could play anywhere. I just think he's very versatile. He has the ability to play in just about any system. It's an intriguing thing to see what happens now. I think he was anticipating probably going to an East team, possibly. We'll see what happens. I'm more excited post than I was pre. And really, it opens up a whole bag of just what's next and what moves can happen, especially with. I think the first domino was Luka being traded. Now you are kind of what? Not to throw salt in the wound, but it's what's next? Who's moving next? Giannis is exploring options. You get what I'm saying? So there's a lot of.
My brother just texted me breaking news: Dallas Mavericks trade Cooper Flagg for Lou Dort. So it's going to be a long off season for me.
Nico's revenge.
But man, I'm really, really excited by the fit with Cooper Flagg in Dallas. I really want to see him next to AD. That's the most fun duo I can remember in a long time, a front court duo. I think he's the perfect mentor. Similar-ish play styles for Cooper. Dealt with the same kind of hype, the same kind of as a prospect. He's gone through a very, very similar process to Cooper in terms of the lead up to the draft. Same kind of hype around him.
Man, Nico says defense wins championships. You don't get a much better defender than Cooper.
They got a lot of defense.
I had a scouting buddy of mine head out to the Final Four, and he said, he went there to see the Coop hype, and he kind of went to hate just because, Coop had so much love. And he said the first thing that pops out is he's bigger in person and the defense. Absolutely the defense is going to translate. There's just his floor defensively is disgusting. So I think, we make a lot of jokes about Nico, but when he talks about defense, it really doesn't get much better than Coop as an option. Now I don't envy his position because he made so many crazy moves recently that will he even keep the first pick? I mean, if he has the balls to trade the number 1 pick, the fan base is just God bless him at that point. But
I'm so terrified.
It's a crazy position for Dallas to be in. It really is. I mean, the fan base deserves the number 1 pick after what just happened, but we'll see if they keep it. Same with number 2. I could see the Spurs being crazy enough to try to leverage for number 1. Maybe send a package with 2 and something else, but we'll see.
We didn't talk about this player earlier when we were talking about different fits and stuff, but I'm looking at who the Spurs have and stuff. Is Derek Queen a terrible idea for them to
funny enough, when I first joined Draftstack, I told Nick, I was like, I want to do a Derek Queen San Antonio like write up, just because his play style fits Wemby so well. That garbage guy that's also highly skilled, can take you off the dribble, can be the connector pass. I just love, and he's someone I've watched.
Wemby covers up his defensive flaws,
Yes,
so like.
Yes.
I would really look into Queen if I was the Spurs. Not that I want to help the
100%.
Spurs out, but
yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting what they do, because the Spurs have more roster needs than people think. I know we have some guards that are nice to look at, but last year we had a lot of young guards. We like Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley. We try to throw them both bones. We got a lot of pieces where I think people will be surprised we're willing to move on from. So those guard spots really are kind of open. Besides Castle is a lock, but Castle can also play 1-3 with his defense. So
exactly.
It's an interesting spot. Don't be surprised if we go VJ. Don't be the defense he brings, putting that alongside Sohan.
Oh my word,
Wemby.
Castle and VJ. And
Sohan.
God,
so annoying. And
then Wemby at the rim.
Yeah,
and then
it's just a lot to love.
Well, what do you guys think about Philadelphia, man? What's their plan? What are they doing?
Hot take: this is better for them than if they got the number 1 pick.
That's, I mean, in terms of purely like player fit, I guess I could see that. But
they can't go wrong with this pick. He's right. Like
right,
can't really
because now if you're at number 3, you can go in a bunch of different directions. Now you only have to worry about your team. You don't have to necessarily worry about the future. You can worry about your kind of now and future timeline that you're trying to do with Embiid. If you got Harper or if you got Flagg, then you're having to worry about, okay, do we need to just move on from Embiid? This lets you keep Embiid and just grow naturally.
Right, but who are we taking? If they end up selecting, who are they taking?
So assuming those 2 are gone, I am looking at. I'm trying to look at their team. They need more of a 3 than anything else. So, I mean, obviously VJ is a good option there. This actually, hot take, wouldn't be a bad Ace Bailey place. Honestly, that actually is a low key a good fit, because him playing the 3 and the 4 for Philly, that spacing around Embiid could be a really nasty. Already having McCain, already having Maxey, already having Quentin Grimes. Like that's a pretty nasty amount of spacing around Embiid.
Paul George exists. Let's not erase Paul George.
Oh yeah, that's true. Wow. He only played like 7 games this year, so like forgive me for forgetting that. But this is nuts.
Wow.
Well, what about if they don't make any moves and they're purely making a move to try and draft someone and contend this year? What's the go there?
So just trying to build around someone?
Yes.
Honestly, Ace isn't a bad option in that case too, to be completely honest. Like, Ace really makes sense to me for Philly. For the fit with Embiid, but also like he does have the highest upside out of the group left anyway. So like you kind of, if you're wanting to balance the 2 timelines, he's really, really a good fit there.
What do you guys think about the Jazz and the Wizards and the Pelicans all falling out of the top 4?
I can't believe it. That's wild. The odds of that happening are astronomically small.
In the same draft where someone jumps up from 13 to 1 the year after someone. I actually do believe that this is kind of. I'm not someone who's big on like conspiracy theories around the NBA particularly, but I feel like the NBA is trying to. There is a world where the NBA is trying to just reward teams for not bottoming out. Back-to-back years where this happens is very unlikely, and it's a lot more likely that they're trying to push some kind of, or make some kind of point that you don't have to bottom out to end up with a top pick. and end up with a generational prospect like Cooper Flagg, if you believe he's generational, of course.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of shocking, and I don't know what the odds are exactly, but I don't think they're very high.
Well, I was in reference to the Jazz. I think this year they got some penalizations for not playing guys, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, one of the things that what I saw us outside of Jazz fans was that there were a lot of people who were like, the Jazz should not get the number 1 pick. They actually are tanking. Didn't get the number 1 pick. Now, did I think Dallas was going to get the number 1 pick? No, to me, I thought it was going to be top 5, maybe. Did not know it was going to be top 2. So it's intriguing. I think when, people have complained about the play-in, they've complained about, the in-season tournament. Some of those things are to incentivize you winning games, right? And so I think the NBA is trying to curve like tanking itself. Like if you're just losing games because you're a young team or your team's just not really great and you're trying to kind of reset, that's different than, hey, we should lose the next 15 to 25 games so that we can increase our odds for this upcoming draft. So to me, I think that's to Nick's point. The NBA is trying to make sure that you're not losing on purpose. The whole point of the lottery is to increase and improve your team, not to rig the system by all intents and purposes. So it is intriguing to see a couple of teams that I thought would be higher up kind of drop. And
yeah, Utah really needed someone to build around. And so that's where this gets really interesting for them. Same with like Washington has,
I hate this for the Wizards. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think that Washington was farther along though in their rebuild than Utah. Like Utah, this really devastates Utah. New Orleans, they're going to look fantastic when everybody's healthy for the first 15 games of the season again. And then they're going to fall off again. So New Orleans, I feel bad for, but, maybe it's time for them to, trade the guys out and actually try to develop with young people. But Utah, I'm not sure what Utah does. Because, the idea was you got Cooper or you got Harper, you got Edgecombe, and then you build with whoever you get and Lowry. Now Lowry's going to be another year older. Do you just go ahead and bite the bullet and trade him now?
What do y'all think of this? Jazz, if the Jazz offered something like Lowry and their pick for the second pick.
I would do that if I was Utah. I'd have to think about it as the Spurs.
That's an interesting. I could see them trying to make some moves right here.
I'm jumping on that. No doubt.
That might work.
I'd definitely do that if I'm Utah. Yeah, I think it does work. I'd have to think about it as the Spurs. I don't know that I think I might be able to get a better trade than Lowry.
I think Dylan Harper's the worst fit. Dylan Harper's worst fit is San Antonio, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I just think you might be able to get more than that if you're the Spurs.
I don't think what else is there really? I mean, unless the
Giannis thing. The Giannis thing is what I'm.
In terms of being on a trade down, getting on the pick in this draft. I don't think.
The Hawks. If we tried to,
I personally think this whole Giannis thing is so overstated. Giannis has 3 years left on his contract. Was it 3 years?
I think it's
something like that.
3 years. There's no way the Bucks trade him. I'm sorry. I think if he's available, yeah, that's a better trade. But I don't know how realistic that is, and I don't know how there would be a Durant trade. He's 37.
Yeah, I wouldn't do Kevin. I'd be more interested in the Lowry pick because you also still get the top. Are they 5? Is that what the Jazz are 5, right?
If you do that trade, you can end up with Lowry and still get. Man, I kind of like the fit with Malaj, right? Two massive mobile centers just covering a ton of ground, right? That defense would be so much fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Trading down, ending up with Lowry, Marketing, Carmen Malaj, and
I think you can still get Queen at 5, even, because I like Queen as a fit better than Malaj with Wemby personally.
Okay.
So
really,
and then you get Lowry as the 3, and then you have Castle and Fox.
Yeah, Queen's a way better fit with Wemby. Queen is a way better fit with
I agree, but can you take him over 6? Can you justify doing that?
Dude, the Spurs don't
you
answer
can.
to any gods. They will take anyone they like anywhere they
Queen's
like.
the fourth best prospect in this class.
Yeah, Queen is nasty. Queen's been the same as someone like I've covered him since summertime, since he was 15 years old. He's been the same player since he was like 14, 15. He just got bigger. Like he has an identity, which is very important for a young player, and he plays to that style to an absolute T. I think him and Wemby would be nasty.
Statistically, Queen is very similar to Paolo Banchero. I don't know why he did not get the push that Paolo did. I mean, he didn't. He's not quite at that same. You know, Paolo was like that archetype to the max. But
Queen's like a steroid Boris Diaw to me. And those types don't always get the love they deserve, but you put Queen out there, he's going to produce with who you put around him. He just is.
If you're getting a steroid Boris Diaw at 6, then I'm jumping at that. I'm just not as convinced. That I'm not personally. I'm not as high on Derek Queen as everyone else is. But that's me personally. If I could see that happening, I guess.
I think he's a much better passer than the numbers indicate.
Yes,
too,
for
with
sure,
Queen.
for sure.
And so I'm imagining big-to-big passing between Wemby and Queen. That's like.
I mean, he's undoubtedly better than the numbers indicate, but I don't think he's as good as you think that, or the general consensus is that he's that much better. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm kind of like in the middle ground, in between that. But
it might be a fit
could,
thing too, you know. Like it might boost him more in the draft. Like if the Spurs like the fit more, they would reach on him as opposed to something else, most likely.
And the question, I'm looking at this order now. Are you going, if you're Washington, are you going Con at 6?
I love Con at 6, man. I love Con to the Spurs. I am so high on Con, and that was the next topic.
Yeah, Con's a fantastic prospect.
Where does Con land?
Also, Con is tall. Like his wingspan is shorter than it looked, but he's actually taller than I was expecting him to come in. So it kind of works out a little bit. I think Con being 6'5" in shoes means that he can guard some threes now. So I'm a lot more interested in Con than I was pre-lottery. Like, not that I like hated him or anything, but I he's pretty interesting. Shooter and a passer in the pick and roll like him, who can also be able to guard 3 positions. I'm getting pretty interested in that.
And I was just thinking about it also. We have our top 10, but just to Zach, Spurs, that second pick that they'll have, they can do something really interesting.
Yeah, I could see us waiting to see how, like, someone mentioned how Trey Johnson and Fears, one of those archetypes, always falls. God, imagine if we fleeced a Trey Johnson at 14 or a Fears. Because I think the Spurs, as someone who, unfortunately, I watched all 82 games. I do think someone with the aggression over Fears at that point would be a no-brainer for us. Just someone that could really start the play for us, bring that fire. CBM has his stock's been rising. I could see us go for the front court. I think front court's a huge need for us. And I think
for people who might not be draft people like us, Colin Murray Boyles is CMB.
CMB. So there is a lot of, I think, tempting front court pieces that are going to be in that 10 to 15 range. And unless a Trey or Fears fall, I absolutely see us going front court.
I mean, based on what I'm looking at here, it looks like probably Noah. Insane.
Oh yeah.
Just tall, lanky, can play both ways, has a lot of interesting tools to him, a lot of good physicals.
My comp for him is Steven Jackson, so that's actually kind of ironic for a Spurs, getting a young.
Yeah, I could see, if Carter Bryant falls, I could see that being our second pick. That's basically a more offensively gifted Sohan. So,
or Rasheer Fleming would be.
Yes, Fleming's been shooting up on boards.
He would be disgusting.
I know, Spurs do like Fleming. From people I've talked to in the organization, so I could see Fleming too. He's definitely last couple weeks his name's picked up as a forward. So yeah, I think front court 100% is going to be the focus, unless one of those archetype guard falls.
Him and Wemby with like the longest wingspan duo ever.
They'd be so annoying, dude. And like I said, the gravity of Wemby, we saw it this year to where people stopped trying him at the rim. You add another elite defender to someone like him and Sohan, it's good. It could be special. I do think Khan, though, I could see him being a fantastic fit for us. So there's a couple fits that fall outside that 14 range that I could see us trying to move up for. So we'll see.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about the Hornets now. The Hornets ended up falling to 4. I'm a little bit devastated. I really just wanted a top 3 pick. That was all I wanted all year, but that's all right. So I'm trying to think now who we're targeting. I think it's going to be purely dependent on, I mean, obviously, but how this top 3 shakes up, if the 76ers stay there, if they trade it, who they end up taking. Because I think it's going to be, it'll end up being either VJ Edgecombe or
I
Ace
love
Bailey.
VJ for Charlotte, dude. You
I
get
mean,
Or I could see Malawak as the other option.
I don't think, I mean, unless they're planning on
I-
trading Mark Williams again, but I don't think you get much value. I don't think that there is intent on trading Mark Williams as everyone thinks. That was purely because they got 110 cents on the dollar. I don't think
That's
they're
true.
interested in trading him. And so,
That's true.
Edgecombe is such a
Edgecombe's
great
the guy for Charlotte.
Yeah.
Like, but I could also see Malawak as the other option. But like, to me, Edgecombe is kind of the perfect guard to put next
absolutely.
to. I mean, in between Miller and Melo, like that, he's just going to fit absolutely perfectly between those two guys. So
he really is like Oladipo plus, like in that scenario, healthy. Like, dude, he does all the evil stuff that LaMelo doesn't do. I think that's just a perfect compliment. You're going to have an option between him or Bailey, most likely. That's what the will likely be looking at. It's hard to say no to.
I'm not sure I love the fit with Ace Bailey though. And so, what do you guys think of that fit?
I would rather Edgecombe. See, that's where
because
Bailey and Miller are so close.
Edgecombe's 1 at 3.
Yeah.
And only Ace is available at 4. Do we keep the pick? Do we trade it? Do we take someone else?
I think you take someone else because Miller is a better ace.
Yes.
And
especially now that Ace is only 6'9", it's literally just Brandon Miller again. And
I don't think you can develop both of them. I think you can develop one or the other. And so I would rather develop the guy that we already have who's already doing so much.
And I also think I don't think the 76ers pass on Ace Bailey, in my opinion. Truthfully,
imagine the shot diet of Ace Bailey with the Hornets, though.
That's
so crazy to think about.
It's just like pulling up from 3/4.
Yeah, dude, that's chaos for everybody involved. I agree. I don't think Ace goes past the Sixers. No way.
Right, because they have McCain. They drafted McCain. They have Maxey. Like to me, you would want that third piece at the 3. To me, I don't think Ace falls out the top.
Let Paul coach him up.
My phone is blowing up. Like my phone is crashing. I'm getting so many texts.
My phone was fell off the desk about 20 seconds ago. It's crazy.
What do you think of Bailey to the Sixers, though? What do you guys think of that? Because I mean, he's behind Paul George, which is basically the archetype he's based on. That's what he spawned from. So, getting in that environment. And I know he got hurt.
He won't be behind Paul George for very much. He's not going to play very many.
No. But getting that
very close relationship too. I love that mentorship relationship because they are very close.
That's true.
And I just think it's interesting. I guess I don't love the fit to the play style. I like that he's with Paul George, but I mean, it works, but I don't think it works in helping Ace reach his ceiling at all. And I think now that they've fallen at 3, Ace is going to be forever locked into the, at best, Michael Porter Jr.
What do you like more for the Sixers? Dylan going to them? Like if the Spurs took a Bailey or an Edgecombe and then they end up with that choice of Harper, do you like Harper to the Sixers? How do we feel?
No, it's still not a good fit. Because you have your interior presence in Embiid, you don't need much more, and that's kind of the main thing.
And he's a tough fit with Maxey, in my opinion.
So you already have your
and McCain.
Yeah, and McCain. Yeah, because McCain's just not tall enough to play the 3. So
right. You've got to me the 76ers already have their backcourt. Healthy. Yeah. I think they're going to be really good. I don't think you go guard again. That would be really intriguing to me unless they have ideas about movement, which you never know with this upcoming offseason. So to me, I think truthfully, Harper, I don't know. The Spurs could move Harper, but I would assume that movement is
Giannis. It's only if it's Giannis. There's no other way.
Yeah, they're just like you're not moving the number 2 pick unless it's to get a substantial return. And of course, we've heard the talks that if Giannis is going to be traded, it would be for a substantial return. Like you would get some kind of package where it's
and
picked.
they came out today. The Athletic said that he prefers to go to a state with no income tax.
Hey,
So that's Texas and Florida. That's Texas and Florida. So,
from my inside sources, I do believe that they're going to get more than Luka Doncic. Crazy, right?
Yeah, I know, right? So, to me, I could easily see him going to the Spurs. I could also see, I think the Rockets are going to make some push for him. So I
don't think the Rockets make a move like everyone says. I think they're pretty simple they're doing. If I'm being
really,
honest.
That's interesting. I think they have enough that they could really cash in.
Do you think the Rockets go Newell at 10?
Ooh.
Because
I don't hate that.
I think mainly because Steven Adams, I love him. I think one of the things that he's just a professional. He plays well. He gives you what you want out of your big man, and him being able to kind of help, in my opinion, kind of get stronger, learn how to use his physicality a little bit. Obviously, he's a smaller.
Well, they unlocked something with that double big lineup, so I think they probably do go big.
Right.
And Adams
Sorber is the other option I would think of.
The timelines definitely line up. Adams is 31.
Yeah, Sorber is the other one I would look at. Newell or Sorber. So
I can also see if it's not Newell, I could see them go Colin Murray Bowles. Possibly.
That's a real short big man rotation between him and Şengün.
But defensively, you get to. Yeah. I like Şengün, but I don't think he's the greatest defender. You get somebody that's alongside him who can handle the ball and also defend. So,
I want more shot blocking next to Şengün is my thing, because I think Şengün is good at actually defending the post, but I want an actual rim protector next to him.
Now he has shown the ability to get stops at the rim and be able to block shots occasionally. How much that translates and how much of it is he's able to do without fouling is to be seen.
Yeah,
but I think that's another good pick there. And also, I'm intrigued. Malwalk next to in Brooklyn, possibly
next to Claxton.
Next to Claxton is a very formidable front court. I think that you get a lot of athleticism there, a lot of block shots. I
think what we've learned is that two bigs is coming back in.
Fully. And it needed to, for sure. Yeah. I think, interestingly enough, as it's coming back, the Timberwolves went away from it, right? Like they traded.
They still had Randall. Randall's a big.
Right. Which he's not your big. Like he's not 7 feet tall. He's not really like he can play. He's a physical.
I see what you're saying, but
right. But I'm just intrigued to see what happens from 1 to 10. I think Cooper's getting selected. I just can't imagine that they don't select him number 1 and keep him.
I can. We have the dumbest GM in history. So.
They've surprised us before. I do think Harper ends up somewhere else.
Agreed.
I don't think they take that big. I don't know. I just don't.
Ace would be good on the Spurs, in my opinion, just because of his athleticism. I think it's if there was a place for him to hone his craft, to increase his ceiling, to improve year for year, the Spurs is a great place for him to really just actualize his potential. Shot selection, being able to move the ball really crisply. So it's in that top 5 could look very different come draft day. There's a lot of
I'm gonna have to change my article idea because the Mavs moving up to 1 made it very difficult.
I gotta change my Spurs outlook because I literally argued with you guys about how high are we really on VJ before the draft. And now that I'm sitting here with the Spurs getting number 2, which I really didn't think was gonna happen, VJ makes a lot of sense, man. Yep. Like you put him with a Castle, oh my God, and Sohan and Wemby. There's a lot. I'm thinking of from Popovich's perspective. Like we took Kawhi in at 25% 3-point percentage coming out of college, and we sharpened that up. You take a 36% with VJ. Oh yeah, we'll have him gunning.
Still working with Spurs?
Yeah, like VJ, I'm starting to feel the VJ to the Spurs at number 2 if we don't trade it. And I think that's going to shake up draft boards. I
Yes.
think
I talked about
Harper
this.
Bailey moving out.
It's funny because Nick, I think I mentioned it. I said, to me, Dylan and VJ are 2A and 2B. That was my initial thoughts.
I have VJ over Dylan personally.
And to me, the fact that you have this ability where that could be the case, where Harper goes maybe below 2 and VJ jumps up the board. I feel like you're going to get a whole lot of calls, as I mentioned before. I think there's a whole bunch of just because fit wise, you're now like, well, this guy got picked at 1. Cooper's consensus, in my opinion. So 2 down, you're talking about who fits what, who can you select at 2, and what do you want out of that pick. And so to me, I think it's going to be really interesting. I still personally don't have Kasparis going top 10 in my opinion. I like him. I think he does some interesting things well. To me, I don't know. Is he top 15 to me? Yes. Is he top 10 to me? I don't think so. Not, and it would have to require him to show something really, really different upcoming, and some things come out where it's just like he's more athletic than we thought. He's able to kind of clean up on turning over the ball a little bit more. Just some of the things that he would need to show that he has the ability to clean up within the combine, within the next few months, and working on his game. So between him, I think Derek could go higher depending on what somebody wants. Offensively, his post game, his ability to make reads. He's not afraid to take shots in big moments, clearly. So I'm intrigued to see what happens 1 through 15. It's just there's a lot that can happen. And
I like Houston.
Is there a world where Dylan Harper falls to 4?
Wow.
I mean, there is a world.
Yeah.
Which is
absolutely
nuts.
Yeah.
Because in a vacuum, he shouldn't. But there is a world now.
There was only I'd say a 0.0 something chance, right, that these two that this order ended up happening, right? Very, very low chance of happening. And it was the only world where Dylan Harper had any real chance of falling from 2.
What's the chance?
It's crazy.
Dylan? What's the chance Dallas takes Dylan? Like Dylan,
I mean, probably pretty high. It's Nico Harrison.
Wow.
It's Nico Harrison. We gotta think about it. I mean, I could also see Nico trying to trade down with the Spurs.
My
trying
goodness.
to flip with the Spurs.
Is he asking for him?
Yeah, I will say we have to.
But I mean, we have to take into account that Nico Harrison is an idiot. We have to take.
Yeah, but Nico, we do have to also take into account the locations. Like at the end of the day, Dallas and San Antonio, same division, same conference.
We never trade with each other. But
Nico does have a death wish though, so he might try that.
Exactly. It's Popovich. Do we really think that Greg Popovich is not going to win any discussion with Nico Harrison?
I can't argue that. Yeah, I can't argue that.
It's not that unrealistic, guys. It's what? Pick 1 for pick 2, let's say Devin Vassell and I don't know, Victor Wembanyama. Right?
It wouldn't be.
Dude, we're sick enough. No, in all seriousness, I'm not hating on Nico because this would make me hesitate. 2 and 14 for number 1, and maybe a future.
I think we'd also try to get. I think that Nico would also try to flip in that scenario. I think he would try to get one of your young guards too.
Agreed.
All right. Well, we have a question. We'll get back to this discussion. From Kyle Clerk. What do you guys think the Raptors should pick at 9? I'm thinking Derek Queen, but would love to hear y'all's opinion. Well, Kyle, I'm sure you subscribe to Penn State Basketball. I'm sure you saw the live stream I did with them quite recently, if you're a Raptors fan. And I don't like Derek Queen Raptors at all. And I don't think there's many Raptors fans that do. I think everyone's quite against it. But Kyle, what do you think, man?
Intriguingly enough, I think they go international. I think they go international and draft Noah.
Yeah.
That
I could also see
sounds like an odd pick, but I think because of the way the Raptors draft, I think that Noah in Singway could be the pick at 9, just because of his potential and just what he shows as far, and his game is really like upped over the last couple of weeks. He's shown just the ability to be really, really good. He's young. That's another thing. Like there's so much upside, so much development to his game. So I think Noah's a piece that they could add.
I think Colin Murray-Boyles.
Colin's another one that I think could be a pick at 9.
Sorber would be huge for them.
Defensively, agreed.
They could pray for Fears.
Fears is another one, but I think now my only problem with Fears is that they would need to unclog the guard rotation.
And they can't trade quickly is on a tradable contract. Not that I think it's a bad contract, we haven't really seen him on that contract yet.
Yeah,
he did business much yet, but as of right now, that's an untradeable contract because no one knows.
Also,
really,
internationally, if you want to keep going with like Noah Penda, Nolan Traore, like either of those two would be good to me in.
If Knuppel slips, if Khan slips, that's a good one. Because for me, I wrote down Raptors primarily. They're looking at needs at the guard rotation as well as on the wing. Maybe a big if it's a fantastic.
This is another incredible Fleming spot.
I was going to say that next.
Like they got some flexibility here. They can go best available, honestly. Which depending on
Fleming's fit might have him flying up my board. The more that I'm thinking about, like he fits in so many different places that he might just go higher on my board.
Just Noah Penda was brought up there, so I got to plug this. If you guys want to see more from Noah Penda, I had an interview with him at the start of the year on the website. Go check that out. That was very insightful. Really, really cool dude. Everything I've heard from him and my experience with him is he is a really, really, really great kid. Gym rat, right? Has the right mentality. Does everything right.
He's big for a young guy. He's big, like as far as like built.
Oh yeah, he's strong, man. He's so strong. He does everything. He's such a great playmaker. He's developing as a shooter. He's hit like I don't know if you guys saw the game winner he had a few months back. Must have been a game winner to win the championship in one of the youth tournaments. That was crazy. Falling over, step back 3. That was insane.
This might be a deep cut, but he's kind of like Thomas Robinson. If Thomas Robinson could also like shoot.
Oh, I like it.
And so, like,
that's one of the best pitches I've ever heard in my life.
Like, I like his shoot. I like Penda.
Is there a world where Danny Wolf goes up because of what's happened?
Look, you know what? Man. I've been talking about this. I love him at the late lottery for the Spurs. If we go guard or wing for the first, the number 2 pick,
lottery pick,
Danny with Wemby. Danny hits step back 3s. He's a spacer, legitimate guard skill at 7 foot. This class is treating the big men very weird. I feel like general scouts are going to get a lot wrong about how people treat these big men because there's a lot more talent, I think, than people are giving credit to the front court in this draft.
Yeah, Yaxel is another one, or Yaxel.
Oh, I love Yaxel. Yes,
I think he's another one that can fly up the board, plenty of play.
I feel like he might go back to college just because there's so many good bigs in this class, though. That's
what is the NIL?
Next year's so deep too, though. I mean, Slim just went back.
That's true.
If he's getting a first round pick, there's no way he goes back. The NIL isn't quite there yet.
Yeah, I see. To me, I don't think he's gonna be a top 20 pick. Yaxel to me is not a top 20 guy. But
as long as 30, you're still got a guaranteed contract for 4 years. I think anything in the first round he's taking.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm also intrigued to see where Ben and Neat Clifford go. Ben Saraf and Neat Clifford.
Saraf isn't going in the first round.
Oh, that's interesting.
Huh.
That's interesting.
From everything I've heard. And again, these things change, especially over the next couple of months. Things never change more over the next couple of months as they do these couple of months.
Yeah, seriously.
So what I say now, Sarah could go first, right? Like you never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's Nico Harrison. You never know.
You know what? I could also here's a name we haven't talked about for the Spurs at 14 or just late lottery in general. I could see just off potential as a connector and an elite shooter, Liam McNeely. Just as someone who's going to be a reliable shot maker. Yeah, he measured
really
well. Yeah, he measured well. I could see him moving up because he's been fringe lottery for a while. And I think, as a team like the Spurs, we got Harrison Barnes, but he's not going to be around long. So he might be someone that's interesting enough to move back into the lottery.
I'll throw this out here as a Razorbacks fan, but the Arrow could be pretty.
Yeah, for sure.
He was measured out well as well.
Yeah, 6'7". So I mean, he was 6'5" last year, wasn't he? So 6'7" in shoes this year is pretty good.
Where do you guys have Demon going?
He has such a large range to me. Like, because I think some teams are going to view him as a guard, and some teams are going to view him as a forward, and it's going to drastically change where you put him.
And to be honest with you, this is just me personally. I believe he should be drafted as a guard, not as a wing.
I think you have to try him at guard. Like, what's the point of? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But what's the point of drafting someone with that potential and not trying them at a guard?
Because to me, it's not that he's not a forward. He has the build, obviously. I'm talking about the physicality that's required at the wing spot. I don't think that's necessarily his role. I think he averaged a decent amount of assists. You do try him out, as you mentioned, as a connector, to be able to pass the ball, make reads. I think his playmaking should improve relatively quickly. He's just going to have to learn how to play at his pace.
He's a brilliant passer. It's just the stuff to get to where he can use that passing.
Right.
Where
that's kind of where I was going with that is how can he figure out to play at his own pace and get things where he wants them to go? Can he run an offense in an NBA on an NBA team? And not obviously it depends on where he ends up. And
he's a sneaky fit in Utah.
He is a sneaky fit in Utah.
Because being there, being at BYU with all the BYU connections with the Utah front office, that's not that is a pretty sneaky fit. It's a little high in my opinion.
Especially because we talked about it earlier. Are we sure that Trey Johnson's going top 5?
Yep.
I think, you know what? As this draft worked out, I like Jazz and Wizards potentially taking Trey. The Jazz, they can just tell them, get a bucket for right now. We're figuring
actually, I love the fit on the Wizards, actually.
Yeah, and Wizards, that style of play they have would fit his game pretty well, and at least let you see within a year or two what you're working with the Wizards in terms of how Trey fits them. So for his stock, I think it's hard to get him out of 5-6. But if he does slip, you're getting some high value on the lower end of the lottery.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Fully agreed. And then, like I said, I don't think Malawa is getting past the Brooklyn Nets, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a good fit.
Imagine that he drops any further.
Good grief, with his measure, like we knew his measurements were going to be good, but they were insane.
What were his measurements? I didn't see his measurements. What they come
7'2" with a 7'7" wingspan, and
God!
I mean, he's bananas, dude.
I love Maloj so much. I've been so high on him all year. I've had him I think he peaked at 2 for me on my bullish 2, and it's gonna pain me to see him go past my horns. But I'm not sure if he's gonna get the.
Yeah, you're almost too high to draft Malawat. I
think it's just purely fit. This is just like the worst case scenario for Maloj. The top 4.
Right. Yeah, he's
very good extra top 4 pick. Very good. Now he's measured out like that. That really hurts.
It's nuts, dude. Like his measurements were, which we knew they were going to be insane because you just look at him. But man, he's 7'2" in shoes. I mean,
the thing with that
movement, he can move.
Lateral quickness. His lateral quickness at 7'2" is unbelievable.
That's a 7'7" wingspan. Like, I mean, just it's nuts.
All right, do we live in a world where Popovich says, let's take our chances and roll out him and Wemby, or at number 2?
I don't know about at 2, but I think they can move down. I think you could see him being a target if they'd move down, or if they move up from the other spot. Either way.
I'm just saying, dude, we're the same team that drafted Primo. We're kind of draft terrorists. Like, I love the Spurs and how we work. Like, we're either going to make a big play or we're going to look wild. So I definitely, and we got 2 chances to be right. in the lottery, and we can't underestimate the gunslinging mentality. Manu, one of the worst gunslingers of all time. He's in the front office now. Like we're going to be taking chances on some guys because, frankly, we can afford to. When you look at the young pieces we have, we can kind of take a risk because we're going to be able to compete next year with everybody healthy. So it's going to be a mix of how much potential do the Spurs want to gamble on versus win now within the next few years.
And that leads me to this question. This is so wild.
Want it too?
If the Spurs, if so, in a world where Spurs keep 2, right, and they do take Malawak, if they ended up with Malawak and Noah, are you contented?
Yeah.
That's my question.
To me, the Spurs.
Okay, so so if the Spurs were to
You're
go
contending either way with none of
number
these picks
2,
contending. You have Wemby.
Yeah, like number 2. Okay, so they went Malawak number 2. If we live in that world, I think that shifts the draft enough that we could set ourselves up to get a robbery later. We might get a Trey Johnson. We might get a Fears, something to that degree. I don't see us taking him at number 2, but at the same time, those measurements are so crazy. You put that next to Wemby. I mean, that's just because when we traded Zach Collins last year, the need for even remote size was so obvious. And just to be able to even add someone that can deter at the basket next to a Wemby with the gravity he has, that's just, you're not scoring on 8 foot and 7'7". That's not allowed. Like,
that's why I asked if Noah's the other pick they add, because he's 6'9". I think his measurements are going to come out pretty insane. I don't know if they came out with them already.
I'm sorry, I heard Nolan. I thought you were talking about Traore. I was
Noah Esingwe from. That's
scary.
That's what I'm asking. Is to me, you have guards. You're good at guard, in my opinion.
Yeah. So you just go with
now adding
wings
size,
loading.
Right?
We're definitely set at wing too.
Right. So you're adding size in the front court alongside Wemby. You're also adding size off the bench, possibly. Off the bench clearly with Noah. And so now you have this ability. One, you have a high. I think defensively you're already adding Wemby and Malawak together, but you have the ability to be extremely imposing defensively and play with size. I would be intrigued if those are the 2 picks.
I will also say this: DQ at 2 is possible, just because no one talks about it, but his hand-eye on defense is really annoying. It's very Jokic-like, where he can play the passing lanes as a big that's not that athletic, but he's just intelligent enough, and his hand placement is that gifted that he can make those reads and make those plays. Him next to Wemby, just getting those easy pickoffs, just playing. You can make mistakes with Wemby behind you. You can
the Spurs getting number 2 is by far the most interesting result that could have happened.
Yes, because it's not Flagg's obvious at number 1, but number 2, the Spurs can go anywhere. That's what's really, honestly, the biggest. I'm a Spurs fan.
Maybe if the Thunder got 2, that would be another interesting.
But, I think the fact that they got 2 and then the Sixers got 3, and the fact that the Mavericks got 1, you don't really know what the Mavericks are going to do. There's a world where something else happens.
Yeah, I know.
I'm terrified. It's so intriguing, man.
I'm not going to sleep.
I see the Jazz going Trey Johnson. Unless someone big slips to them, I see them going for scoring. I think they let him roll it out. What else do they do? They kind of got screwed. You got to go with someone with a clear identity at that point. I think they can tell him, hey, just come in and try to get 20.
Have we talked about the Bulls and the Hawks? I think those are the only 2 teams that we haven't really talked about.
All right, we'll get to those 2 and then we'll wrap it up. So Bulls and the Hawks. What's the order? I'm looking at the order now.
They're near the bottom.
12 and 13. Yes, or Bulls and 12.
Yeah. Oh, and the Trailblazers. We haven't talked about the Trailblazers at all. Which is the pick before.
Okay, let's roll this. I have a question from YouTube. Let's roll this into the question because it's kind of linked. This is from Ethan Alexander from the Draftstack team. Is there a team near the back end of the lottery where you could see an Adutiero jump if guys like Fleming and Bryant are already taken?
No.
Also, league is rigged. Someone said something.
I think Theo's just right under the lottery, personally.
I think he
I
ends up.
I don't see him as a lottery pick, and I'm a huge Razorbacks fan. I live in Arkansas. Like,
He's not
my
on top
nonprofit
order
is
people.
my
I think fit-wise,
nonprofit is based out of Arkansas. Like, so I'm a huge Razorbacks fan. I think he's awesome, but I think he's probably a step down because he doesn't do enough shooting at that wing position. So when you're looking at a non-shooting wing, it's just a little hard in this era.
Yeah, I see like a McNeely jumping up before him in terms of what they provide right away, especially on the back end. Just those teams, like when you have a Spurs and a Hawks, because the Hawks really are just like a piece or two away from being super annoying. If they can be strategic with the 14th pick, if things fall their way,
Fleming.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Fleming for any of these three teams is going to be a really a solid pick. The Bulls to me have got to get another big though, because Vucevic is collecting social security checks at this point. So
that's a team that could reach on a Danny Wolf. That's a team that could be like, hey, we'll take one of those weirdos that gets
Newell, Sarber, Wolf.
Yeah.
So, to me, they've got to do some kind of big. Fleming, even if you're only doing the 4, I'd rather do a little bit more size. But to me,
definitely
the Bulls
go
have
off
got to
ball
do it big.
too, because Giddey clearly the experiment with Giddey primarily handling the ball worked for them. So I'd go off ball or size for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think another interesting storyline here is the Brooklyn Nets have 4 first-round picks to retool right now. They obviously have number 8. They have number 19. They have. I'm just scrolling through the list right now. They have 26 and 27. What are they trying to do with those picks? Let's start with 8, and then we'll touch quickly on the last 3, and then I think we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, Malawak at 8. I mean, I think that we've all if he's still there, I think they easily go him.
Man, what do you guys think of the Wizards fit with Malawak next to Saul?
I don't hate it.
Intrigues me.
Because I think Sar is more of a 4 than a 5. So, Kyle, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So what's interesting to me about the 4 picks is what they can do, as far as filling spots and moving maybe some guys out. I do think they have interesting prospects on their team at this particular point. If Malawak is available at 8, you take Malawak at 8. Beneath that, just looking at what's slated here at 19, they could draft Carter Bryant.
Nolan Traore, do you guys like that fit?
They do need a point guard. That's their point guard for the future.
Hey, Kasparis would be a good fit if
He's not,
I have them.
Well, I'm even talking about an 8. I could see him going up.
Yeah. If Malawak isn't available, then yeah, definitely I like that.
It could go to
Kasparis. I'm very honest. I think he's like a Halliburton line.
Are you taking Kasparis if you're also taking Walter Clayton Jr.?
Yes.
I think Walter Clayton Jr. is like a back end first round guy. I don't think your first.
Right.
Yeah, I think he's late first, early second guy. I think that.
So I don't think you're basing who's taking 8 on if Walter Clayton Jr.
Well, I guess my thing is you're
nice
if Kaman is not available at 8, do you then take Derek Queen at 8?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Nets almost have the freedom of choice. Like they don't have much they have to commit to in terms of long-term players on their roster. They've got
and the ones they have can play multiple positions.
Yeah, right. And even someone like a Cam Thomas who's 20 a game kind of guy, but they hate him like every other week. So they have a little bit of freedom here. I think they might go best available wherever they're at. Like whatever pick it is, they're likely going best available. So whoever at number 8 is pound for pound best available, I see the Nets rolling with that.
Yeah.
And then
I think the Nets are purely a best player available. Team.
Yeah.
Like they don't. There's no identity formed yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Hawks and Bulls, I'm not even sure what you do here. If Colin is available, I think at 13 you could do that. I think they could also probably take Noah as well at that spot. I can't imagine that the Bulls would take another guard at 12.
Not a ball dominant one. I just can't see it. Yeah.
You would need somebody who's a movement shooter, in my opinion. Not that that's their primary skill only, but that they can space the floor. And also, I think they would need some size. So they would need, maybe they go.
I think Carter Bryant. I think they might roll Carter Bryant right here because Trey Jones looked good for them last year when the Spurs sent him over. They already have Giddey, so they kind of have the depth there in terms of their primary ball handlers. I could see a world where Carter Bryant goes to them, just in terms of that big hybrid forward that can do a little bit of everything.
Will Riley would be another option of the big.
Will Riley has gotten some serious first round balls. It hasn't been reported, but from what I know, there's a lot of teams interested in him in the mid to not late.
He also measured incredible.
So from
6'10", right? Yeah. He measured. He was 6'10".
Yes.
Flemings too. If Flemings is there, you go Flemings.
Fleming. Yeah. I think that's what I was thinking is.
He fits so many different places, though. I just I have a feeling he'd be gone by the time the Hawks pick.
Well, I was thinking Bulls. I think Bulls take.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Bulls, Fleming. That's for me.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think he fits what they want out of a defensive player. He has interesting offensive tools. That I
makes
think
up for the sins of Vujacic on defense.
Right, and so you fit. You get, to me, that you get best player also and fit a need. You have some athleticism there. So, between him and Buzelis, I feel like you get a lot of fun out of those two young guys, just being able to wreak havoc on defense and then really probably punish guys with their speed and ability on the other side. So,
do you guys see? This is for me the one who I could see going multiple places, but I just can't figure out what position he plays. Is Sorber from Georgetown?
I don't think he's power forward at all.
You think he's just a center? Okay, because that does, if he's just a center, he's a little short for just a center, but also he's got the wingspan of a pterodactyl, so it's fine. He's like a 7'7" wingspan himself.
Yeah, his standing reach is absurd.
So I it's fine that he's a little shorter.
No Blazers. He could go to the Blazers.
Oh, I like that fit.
If I can just jump in here, we discussed earlier how the NBA is obviously it's a bit of conspiracy, but they're kind of combating tanking, right? Mm-hmm. Fun little stat that I just saw pop up. The team with the worst record in the league hasn't won the lottery since 2018.
Yeah,
well, here's the other thing. If we're doing full conspiracy theories, this was the beginning of this year was the worst ratings year ever, and then specifically, Adam Silver said, we had a major trade, and then everybody was much more interested in the league. So, I'm just saying, if we're doing conspiracy theories, maybe Silver just said, "Hey, look, Dallas, give Luka away for free, and we'll give you the number 1 pick." I don't know.
Hey,
if we're going for conspiracy,
stranger things have happened.
I'll say this: we haven't mentioned it once, but Sorber to San Antonio is a possibilty with the way he rebounds.
The second
we need
lottery
board.
pick.
Yeah, second pick, obviously, but rebounding, the calling card, and I don't care what anybody says. Rebounding will get you paid in the modern NBA if you can find a way.
I think Sorber can also shoot and pass for his size. So he is the kind of big that Pop has seemed to target in the past.
Yeah, so that might be an interesting at number 14 if he's still around.
And lastly, do you think? I'm guessing Jace is not staying within the top 15.
Not for me. No, I'm dropping him. No.
I do think he goes top 20.
If you're in my height range, you can't be a lottery pick.
Who on the back end would he fit? That's the problem. When you look at the
I'm 6'10" and a half, and if you're within 2 inches of me, you can't be a lottery pick. Sorry.
Yeah, Spurs, he's not a good fit. Hawks, you already got a little Trey. Bulls, that's a tough sell. Blazers, that's a tough sell as well.
Even
because
going
they're trying to
outside of the lottery, the Heat is that's bad for the
Yeah.
Heat because
he's outside the lottery for me.
Yeah. So I think he's looking at a real big drop.
Wait, just a quick thought, Kyle. Before the actual top four was announced, like the order of the top four, you said if Miami missed the playoffs because they had the 11 best odds, they would have been in the top four. Where would they have ended up? Whose odds would they have ended up with? Was it the Mavericks?
Mavericks 11.
Yeah.
So they missed out on the number one pick by making the playoffs.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Abysmal.
Sorry, Kyle.
They missed out on Coop to make the playoffs,
Man, and to get smacked. I mean, just utterly smacked.
That abysmal was hilarious.
So wrong.
Someone check on Miami Twitter, man.
I
Check on
don't know
Miami
if you guys, if you
Abysmal.
check, but it's disgusting right now.
I'm gonna go tag my Miami friends and tell them, it's a safe place.
Now there are some Heat fans who are like, if the Heat had the odds, they likely wouldn't have gone beyond top 5. There's just no way. Maybe it just works out this way just because of the way the season is gone for them. Jimmy's gone.
You mean they just cursed, basically?
Yeah, just not. Instead of the odds, if we had those odds, I can't imagine we get the number 1 pick.
That's a conspiracy.
I just can't imagine it. And to be honest with you, I have always, if we're talking conspiracies here, I've always felt that the league is not the biggest fan of the Heat in general. Just Pat. I mean, I don't know if it's a Pat thing, but to me,
y'all won a whole lot to not be
right.
And
And I think also because for the most part they don't tank. That's just not their. They've never tanked. When they've had really bad.
Why the NBA should like them. I don't really get that.
Well, I guess from the perspective that they don't go the route that a lot of other teams go as far as acquiring talent, as far as building from internal. They aren't really like newsy. I think this is probably the first season in a long time since the Big Three where you had so much drama surrounding them up until Jimmy got traded. Ratings, money, all that stuff matters. Now, granted, I'm not. Again, this is conspiracy. This is complete conjecture. I'm not even saying that this is viable, but I can't imagine that they give the Heat and Eric Spoelstra Cooper Flagg. Like that's just that does that to me. Would I love it? Yes. Would it happening? But
if you want Cooper to hit his ceiling, you put him with Eric Spoelstra.
I agree, but
I don't love that much.
He's still the best coach in the league. So to me,
all right. Well, I think we've covered everything. I think we've covered everything we need to cover. I'm gonna be honest. We've gone through all the picks. Now we're circling back at Cooper talk, and we're getting into conspiracy. So it's probably the best time to wrap it up.
Yeah. My battery's about to die too. So.
All right. Well, that's perfect. So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. I had a great time. Seems like everyone else had a great time. We'll be doing a NBA draft live show. I think we peaked at something like 600 viewers to this, 625 viewers we peaked at, which was great. It was really exciting. Obviously a crazy lottery. Thanks to everyone tuning in. Thanks for the guys showing up. And you can find more of our content up on the site or on our YouTube. We'll be putting up heaps of stuff right after this and after the combine especially. And my own NBA draft big board will be dropping soon with every single entrant into the draft ranked with analysis, player profiles, player comparisons. That's dropping soon, so make sure to stay aware of that. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.